How to use Squarespace. This is a new tutorial that I've created to show you everything you need to know about creating your first Squarespace website. This video tutorial is going to guide you through Squarespace 7.1, the latest iteration of their platform. Note that this guide is comprehensive, suitable for beginners, but also if you're intermediate or advanced, you're going to get something from this. In the description below, I've outlined everything so that you can jump to a specific section of the video that's relevant for you. If you're new around here, welcome. I'm Phil, and on this channel I share a lot of practical advice to look good online, social media, personal branding, and more. If these are topics that interest you, I'd love to have you around here a little more often. Consider subscribing and hitting that bell to be notified when I post next. Now, on to the tutorial. Every website that I've made for myself and for my clients for the past few years has been on Squarespace. I am such a huge fan of this platform to be able to build your own website. In this video, I'm going to obviously go into detail on that, on why I choose this platform, and we're going to tour the whole platform as a whole. So you can see here for 9 years, I've worked with almost 300 clients in 30 countries, and all of those people, well, not all, but almost all of those people are on Squarespace with my recommendation. Now, I explain right off the top on my services page why I choose Squarespace, and I thought it would be helpful to just go over that. You can see this for yourself on philpallen.co/services, but I actually answer, because I do get this question often, why Squarespace over other options? We build exclusively on Squarespace for websites for 3 reasons. It's user-friendly, right? So the front end of the website ends up looking amazing if you spend some time on developing your site, but it's also the back end of the site that gets me really excited. The ability to navigate and even make updates to your site from your phone is unrivaled. I find Squarespace significantly less confusing than WordPress, and for people that are not coding experts, Squarespace is such a great option. I also love that they offer 24/7 customer service, right? You can't exactly call them up on the phone, but you can reach out to them by email or by live chat when they're available. And their customer service is amazing, or I should say their customer support. I've been in touch with them many, many times when there's something I'm not even sure how to do, and they reply typically within an hour or 2, depending on how busy they are, with a lot of great detail that gives me exactly what I need to know. Finally, I love this platform because it values design. And I've worked on WordPress and Weebly and a lot of the other options. And I think that Squarespace has the best design. You're going to be able to see the back end in this video, and you'll probably agree with me if you haven't spent time on this platform yet, that the design is absolutely amazing. It's intuitive, it looks great, and it's inspiring, really, as you build your own brand on this platform. Note that below in the description, I have a link to sign up for Squarespace if you haven't already done so. This link is an affiliate link, so I may get a small commission if you sign up for it. Thanks if you do. And now let's dive into who Squarespace is great for. I think Squarespace is perfect for most creators. Now, if you're a blogger and you're comfortable on a more advanced platform like WordPress, you may want to stay there. But for most people, right, you have a job, you're busy during the day, your website is kind of secondary. Even if you're an e-commerce brand, right, you're busy in the business doing a lot of other things besides updating your website. And so even in those instances, I think Squarespace is an amazing platform. They outline on their website here, you can see who this is ideal for, and I wanted to just touch base on this quickly. I think it's perfect. Squarespace agrees that it's perfect for portfolio websites, so maybe you're a graphic designer or a photographer. It's also great for bloggers. So in comparison to WordPress, you're not going to have access to as many plugins per se in the traditional sense, but Squarespace has made huge updates and progress in what they offer bloggers to be able to pull off an exciting blog on this platform. I would note that Squarespace on their current design doesn't have a built-in sidebar, so I'll link to a tutorial in the description below, a plugin rather, that's paid, but it will give you what you need to be able to add a sidebar to your blog. It's also great for online stores. Now, if you are heavy into e-commerce and you've got hundreds of products, I may recommend, this is an exception, I may recommend in that instance that you explore platforms like Shopify, which are designed for that. But anyone who's got a smaller brand or a startup and you've got just a few SKUs or products, Squarespace is amazing to have an online store. I sell online courses directly off my website, and they make it absolutely easy to sell physical products, digital products, and pretty much everything in between. And they've got different types of products set up, and we'll look at that later. It's great if you're also building a personal website, maybe a simple one-page site or putting your resume somewhere. This is perfect. I mentioned creative services businesses when I talked about portfolio, events, and weddings. A lot of people nowadays are creating simple websites for their weddings. This is a great place to do it. And I think small businesses, I think they're right here. A small business, this is where you belong. If you are doing a lot of things in your business, including updating and sometimes creating your website, this is the platform for you. Now let's go through the motions of actually getting started. So I mentioned the link down below in the description. If you haven't created an account yet, I'm going to go ahead and click Get Started up on the top. And first, this is going to take us to a screen that's going to want us to tell or define what our business is about. So this helps Squarespace make recommendations on what they suggest in terms of layouts. It's also them doing research on who's using their product. So for this example, I'm going to go ahead and click Design. I'm going to go ahead and click Interior Design, right? So you can only choose one, I'm noticing here, and just choose the one that fits you best. So let's go with Interior Design. I work with a lot of interior designers. If you don't see anything here that fits your business, you can just describe your site there. This doesn't matter that much, so don't spend a lot of time on it. As an interior designer, I want to showcase my work and expertise. This screen might help you get some clarity on whatever your goals are. It's good to actually spend some time thinking about this because it's going to make your website better. The more clear you are in your goal, the better your website will be. Squarespace wants to know where you are in the process. Are you collecting inspiration, formalizing an idea, turning a project or hobby into a business, or growing an existing business? This is them just being a little bit nosy, right? And so, again, you can just click whatever you want. And then this is where things start to get interesting. Very interesting. It used to be that on Squarespace, you would have to choose a template, or some people would call that a theme. Gone are the days since Squarespace 7.1 where you would have to make the choice on a template that would give you design parameters and oftentimes restrictions. Squarespace removed that requirement, and now you will simply choose a design that you can very easily change. There are no limitations anymore with different templates. Now it's a matter of choosing layouts, which you can very easily update later. So again, these are not templates that you're seeing here. If you're building on Squarespace 7.1, the newest version, these are simply layouts. And so you can very easily change this in the future. Don't worry too much about this yet. We're pretending to be an interior designer. So let's go ahead and choose a template that looks visual. I love this one. So I'm going to go ahead and click Start With. Then Squarespace is going to bring you to this screen. It's a series of 5 quick steps. The first one will be naming your website. In this case, for this example, I'm just going to type my name. Once you name your site, click Continue. So now the next series of pages will basically tell you how to use Squarespace. I'm going to give you a better demo than what they give you in these quick little screenshots. So I'm going to go ahead and skip these. And we will click this button in the bottom right called Start Editing. And welcome to how your Squarespace website will look from the very beginning. Now, for this example, I'm actually not going to work with this new template that I just set up to show you the process of getting started with Squarespace. It's just that easy. I'm now going to jump over to my actual website because it's going to serve better as I move through each section, given that I already have things set up. So welcome to your Squarespace dashboard. This is what I see every time I go to log into my own website. Now, I would probably click Pages first, but for this example, since you're just setting up your account, I'm assuming, we're going to go ahead and click Settings. Let's go there, and we'll go through each of these items very quickly, and I'll tell you only what you need to know. Starting with site availability. If you just created your account, there's a good chance that it's set to private or it's set to password protected, likely private. The first thing I do is when I'm working on a website that's not ready for the public, I go ahead and make that password protected so that it can't be picked up by people that I don't want to see it or search engines, right? So go ahead and click this. If you are building it not yet on a domain, but Squarespace will give you a domain, you can keep it public if you want. I just want you to know that here you can choose your site availability under settings. That's the first setting. I'm going to skip over member areas. I have a whole video about this. It's just not going to be this one, otherwise the video would be too long. So let's go ahead and click on language and region. This you only have to set up once, and it's really handy. I happen to be in Mexico, so I've set my geography to Mexico, and then my language and my imperial measurement standard. Okay, this doesn't matter that much on Squarespace, but they ask for this info so that they display on their end things in the right way for you. I'm going to skip over business information. It's pretty self-explanatory, and let's go straight to social links, and I'll talk about connected accounts right below it. So here you're going to want to put your social media handles. In social links, you do not need to enter the password for that social media channel, so you don't need necessarily permission to put a Facebook page link here. You would just type the URL of that platform, and it will display the icon for whatever social media platform you're connecting. However, if you want to actually connect your social media accounts to your website, then you would do it here under connected accounts. In this section, you do need to connect your social media channel by logging into that platform just for the way that it's configured on your website. This will enable you, for example, to immediately tweet blog posts. You can connect your Google account if you're doing AdWords, for example, or any other Google property. Also, LinkedIn, Instagram here. Okay, so that one I need to fix. But this shows you, if you want to connect your own social media channels, you do it here. I'm going to skip over extensions, but you're welcome to dive into this on your own. Let's go ahead and go with permissions. Now here you're seeing a list of people that I've given access to my website. Some of them are developers that help me with code. Others are people on my team. Permissions is the place you go to give someone else permission to log into your website. I mentioned a second ago, domains. Let's go ahead and click there. Squarespace will assign you a built-in domain, and it's going to be a string of random letters. One of the first things I do when I create my website is I go ahead and customize that so that I remember how to get to my built-in domain. To create an account and to start working on your website, you do not need to actually purchase a domain through Squarespace or connect one from a third party, which is what I've done in this case. But obviously, when you want to go live on whatever your website URL is going to be, you're going to want to connect that here. They make it pretty simple. If you use a tool or I should say a website like GoDaddy, they make it very, very easy to connect your website right away. Other providers, it could take a few hours for your DNS to propagate, but rest assured, even if it's a bit of a delay, normally they make it pretty simple, and you can Google if you need help with this. For now, I would just customize that built-in domain so you can get started right away on a web address that only you know, that you can remember. I'm going to click back and let's take a look at a few other things. I'm going to actually skip over billing an account since my credit card and details are in there, but you can imagine once you click here, you choose your Squarespace account, which they outline the features very clearly, and you would put in your credit card information. You also have the ability to set up your email address with G Suite. Now that's an add-on. I think they make it discounted for your first year or inclusive in the plan. You can explore that if that's something you need. Mobile information bar. This is something specific to mobile, okay? And so this might be useful for you. I'm not using it in this case, but I wanted to show you where it is. Let's talk about cookies and visitor data. This is very important, not just if you're in Europe where there are strict laws in place to protect people's privacy, but also if you're in the US or you're really in any other country, this is something that's very important to have. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I cannot give you specific advice on GDPR and handling your customers' personal data, but I can point out that Squarespace gives you the tools to be able to manage this in a more custom way. I think it's a very good idea for every website creator to enable cookie banners and also have either a bar or a pop-up. You can see the difference here. I do a pop-up in the far right corner where you can actually specify, you can actually specify the text, letting your web user know that you use cookies if you do and how you use them. I also think it's a smart idea to link to your privacy policy for people that are curious to explore that. This is where in settings you can go. And for GDPR here, you can also disable Squarespace Analytics cookies. I do that just to comply with, the rules. And again, Squarespace or me, we won't give you specific recommendations on this. It's best to consult an attorney, a lawyer, someone who works in this industry and can guide you forward. But I wanted to show you for this example where everything is. So that will cover us for settings. There are a few more advanced things here, some settings specific to blogging. Circle Labs, you won't see. I'm a Squarespace Circle member, so that's an additional thing that I have access to. But you can go ahead and click in here and just get familiar with your settings. Now let's talk about pages. Now we're going to be talking about the content of your website, and I want to start at the very beginning, which is adding a logo to your website. So I've gone ahead and clicked Edit. On Squarespace 7.1, this is a little bit different than it used to be, but here we would go ahead in edit mode, logged into your website, click Edit Site Header. Here we would actually upload the file for our logo if you have one, or you may just write your name in a font that Squarespace gives you access to. That would be called site title. Even if you're using a logo, make sure that you write a site title. In this case, it's my name. And obviously, I'm using a logo, and that's what appears up here. Here I can set the height. The maximum logo height on mobile is helpful if you want a slightly different view on mobile. And then you can even, this is brand new in 7.1, you can even upload a mobile logo image. Very helpful to customize that experience on desktop and mobile. Let's go back, and I want to show you how easy it is to define a setting for desktop. So in this case, I've got logo, I've got nav items, and then a call to action button on the far right, and my social media handles near there. Here's where you can custom set everything. I also love this in Squarespace 7.1, the ability to actually explore the layout on mobile. So you can see here, I've set my menu icon, overlay menu, and then the header layout. I've defined all of this to create a good experience for my web user. So that's how you add a logo and you define your styles for navigation. Now, what about when you want to actually add those items up here into your navigation? What you do is, I'm going to point out two areas in your Squarespace site. So there's main navigation and there is not linked. Main navigation means that any content types you put here, in this case I have pages and I have folders, in order of how they're written is how they'll appear. Squarespace is what is often called WYSIWYG, which stands for what you see is what you get. And so, maybe you just learned something new. So here you see project services, courses, project services, and then I switch to a folder, courses. And then speaking, resources, also a folder. In this case, I've added custom CSS to create a what's called a mega menu. So this is not built into Squarespace, this idea that you can hover and see all these images and stuff. That's something you could work with someone to customize for, in CSS for your website if you want it. But this is basically how it works. Main navigation, your pages, your folders, and anything that is not linked in your navigation will go here, not linked. So in Squarespace's words, these pages are public unless they're disabled or password protected, but they do not appear in the navigation. Now, most web web users know nowadays that you can click the logo to go back to the home page. That's why I don't have home under main navigation. So here you'll find things like the home page. I have portfolio pages down here, which are specific to how I group my client projects. And I have a few other pages here that are not linked, such as my freebies signups. I have about 16 different freebies in all different topics where people can go and actually sign up to download something for free in exchange for their email address. So I don't have those in navigation. It would be too overwhelming, but I have them all sorted here under not linked. If we were going to go ahead and create a brand new page, let's look at that process. So what I did just there is I clicked the plus sign. Let's do that. Click the plus sign and let's have a look here. Pages. You have two options if you're going to create a page. You can create a blank page, which starts literally a blank page, and you can customize it from there. They also give you the option to create using a page layout. This is new in 7.1, and I really love this as a way to get started. Squarespace has gone ahead and preset some layouts that might be useful for you. General appointments, about, contact services, members, areas, gallery, and the list goes on. You can see here lots of predefined styles and layouts that will help you arrive at a design quicker. Now let's talk about adding page content. Okay, so I'm going to start with a blank page. I'm not going to name it anything just because we're using it as an example, but I want you to see here, go under Edit, and I'm going to show you how to add page content. If you're brand new to Squarespace, this might take some getting used to, but they do make it very easy to add page content. So I click that plus sign, and here you'll see that menu that I mentioned earlier. Okay, so I'm actually going to go ahead and click blank, and it starts with a text block. These little circles with lines they appear when you hover over your mouse in edit mode, and they allow you to add all different types of what are called content blocks. If you're just getting started with Squarespace, I recommend spending some time looking at these content blocks and getting familiar with them. You are not going to need all of them, but you will need some of them. Some of the more common ones are text, images, video, spacers are great. So if you need to change the layout of whatever you're creating, let's put some sample text here. A spacer allows you to create, quite literally, space around it without having to worry about adding code, for example. Okay, so you want to get familiar. I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on the different content types in this, but if you go ahead and have a look at what they offer you, there are all kinds of things here like charts. If you have products, you can embed those products from Amazon, in a blog post. Let's say you're recommending products. You can also, if you have your own products, use this block here. There are filters and lists and social blocks and all kinds of stuff here that you'll get familiar with the more comfortable you become as a Squarespace user. Now that pretty much covers us for pages, okay? The last thing I would point out is that you don't have to build everything in the same block. So what I do often is I create multiple blocks. Let's say, for example, here I wanted to put an image, right? You can keep creating blocks and it will add to the page. In 7.0, this would be called an index made up of multiple pages. They've migrated away from that in 7.1, which I'm a big fan of, and just kept these all pages that you have the ability to expand and create a really great design. Now I'm going to move away from pages and talk about the other types of content that you can create here besides a page. The page is the first one. That's the most straightforward. There are also collections. And let's go through these. A blog, self-explanatory. If you're adding a blog to your website, that is its own content type. If you are selling products or services online, you're going to want a store. Portfolio is brand new in 7.1. I'm a huge fan of this and use a lot of them on my website. A portfolio allows you to display creative works in a category or anything visual, and you can present it as a collection. Finally, events, great for musicians or maybe public speakers. You can actually create a calendar content type here and have upcoming events as well as past events as their own content type. Finally, under More, here I showed you before some examples of a folder. I also want to point out a hyperlink can be placed in your main navigation or not linked, and that would essentially take people to either a link on your website, or you might be hyperlinking in your navigation somewhere else. I'll give you an example. I have courses on Teachable. If I wanted to send people over to philpallen.teachable.com, I could put a hyperlink in main navigation and call it courses. Now, moving right along to the next section of Squarespace, I want to show you design. Now, if I have to admit, this is my favorite place in Squarespace. I spend a lot of time here working on my client websites, and if you're building your own website, you are going to spend some time here as well. We're going to go through each of these sections, and I'll point out what's most important. If you've used Squarespace before, say on the 7.0 or an older platform, this is totally different. 7.1 drastically updated this section of Squarespace under design. So now, unlike before where you would have all manual settings under site styles, now you've got fonts, colors, animations, spacing, buttons, product items, and image blocks, and a few other things all separated out in their dedicated spots. Let's go ahead and start with fonts. This is where you're going to want to define the fonts of your Squarespace website. Note, on Squarespace, you have access to many different types of fonts made up of fonts available that are free through Google Fonts, as well as a partnership with Typekit or Adobe. And so you actually have access to premium fonts that you wouldn't otherwise have access to unless you have an Adobe subscription. So for me, my brand font is Gil Sans Nova, and this is available to me here on Squarespace, which I'm so happy about. Here you would define the base size as well. You can switch the different fonts depending on how you want to use them, where you want to use them. All of the settings are here, okay? And you don't have to use the same font for everything. I do because this is my brand font. Here you can assign styles to different places on each page and element, etc., right? And so this is really handy once you define basically three main areas. So you want the heading font and the paragraph font. I'll show you that screen in a second. While we're here, actually, I'm showing you as part of 7.1, rather than you having to spend a lot of time deciding which fonts look good with which ones, Squarespace has gone ahead and actually made what are called packs. So these are suggestions of font pairings. You can do sans serif, which, if you're not familiar, sans serif means it doesn't have the little ticks on it, like a legal contract or like Times New Roman. Serif, so sans serif is without. Serif, see the little ticks like a legal contract? That's what those two terms mean, okay? And so sometimes they have pairings that are sans serif, serif, as well as mixed. So here we've got a serif font as the header and then a sans serif as the body font. Now, I was mentioning a second ago that here is where you would want to go under global text settings. You can set the styles for your heading. Here, everything from letter spacing, line height, weight, font weight, everything here, as well as size. Note that for each grouping, so headings, paragraph, when you define the line height, the spacing, and the text transform, these are universal, okay? So the only thing you can change for the different types or sizes of heading is that size. Okay, so that becomes a little bit tricky if you're wanting different heading sizes to have different line heights. You would need to do that in CSS. I'll show you that coming up. Okay, so headings, paragraphs, buttons, as well, they add here. I said 3, but it's actually for miscellaneous. So this is miscellaneous places on your site. It could be site tags or product prices, a few of those smaller areas on your site, but you'll notice them as they pop up as you're building out your website, and fonts is where you will go to edit any of those. Now let's talk about colors. This is really exciting in the latest version of Squarespace. They've created something called Color Palette. This did not exist before. Before, you would have to manually set every single color instance on your website. Now, you can create a color palette. And let me break this down for you. So again, they have designer palettes that you can choose from, suggestions if you're getting started with your brand. You can also upload an image. Let's say, for example, you pull out some outfits from your your closet that you like to wear, you like the colors of them, lay them out on your bed, take a photo of those outfits, and you could upload that photo here, and Squarespace could actually pull some color ideas from your wardrobe. There's a little tip for you. Okay, in this case, I've used custom colors because I have a brand and I have brand colors, and I've set them all here. You have 5 colors to choose from: white, black, accent, light, and dark. Now let me explain these quickly. White, in many instances, for many brands, people that use a pure white color, this would be hashtag FFFFFF. That would be your hex code. Now don't worry if this goes a little above what you know. Don't stress. That's just something I know off by heart because I design. So white, okay, you would define, in my case, I do not use pure white. I use a slightly off-white, and by defining that here under this spot, white, it means every instance, like up here, every instance where white is supposed to appear, it will sub in this color. Same with black. I don't use a pure black. I use more of a charcoal. You will not see a pure black anywhere on my website as I've defined the black here. Your accent color should be the most colorful color in your color palette. Maybe it's an action color, maybe it's orange or red or something that's calling action to a certain action that you want them to take. Click here, buy this product, etc. I often put that color as your accent color. It should be the most colorful one that you have. Here I have the lightest version of my brand color, and here I have the darkest color of my brand color, okay? That's the color palette that you start with. You have 5 colors to define, but it gets even more exciting. I've just clicked Section Themes, and here you can customize even beyond what those 5 color options will give you. Now, I have a lot of brand colors, maybe more than the average person. I use this beige, I use this light pink tone, and as well as the green is the color I use the most. In this case, I've gone ahead and customized what Squarespace defined based on my 5 brand colors, and I've made some more customizations, like setting this beige and setting this pink tone. I use this accent green color, which I defined as dark. Okay, so basically when you set those 5 colors, it's going to automatically set the rest of these, and you can further customize them beyond that. This color scheme, which I use on my services page, is called Light Minimal. And here I've defined the beige as the section background, and I've gone ahead and spent some time and set all of these. So this is what Squarespace 7.0 used to look like. Now it's better organized. It's awesome. And so you can actually custom set a lot of things before that were universal settings. It's just a matter of spending some time in here. I've made mine a little bit more complicated. My brand is a little bit more detailed. You don't necessarily have to worry about that from the start. But this is how you set colors for your brand. Also new and very exciting is animations. This one is very straightforward. Squarespace asks if you want to set a universal animation. And in this case, I have set mine to fade. It's the one I like the most. And I just clicked open my homepage again so you could see that image just now. Fade in. It did so because I've defined site-wide animation being fade. And you can try some others here on your own as well as set the speed. Let's talk about spacing. Site spacing, very straightforward. This is the width of your website as well as the site margin. Next, we have buttons. Buttons are also really straightforward. You'll be setting these settings to be universal, so you'll decide on your button style. In this case, I've used solid. If I wanted to have outline, you can see the change there. I prefer solid for my brand, but I use outlines for a lot of the brands that I design. And then here you define if you want it rounded, square, or pill-shaped. Pill is nice, looks like that. I tend to go rounded on my buttons, and then I set the padding, which is basically the space around the text of the button. And as you click that, it will change. You can see up there. I'm going to reverse that change, and I'll click back. Now let's talk about product items, okay? Product items is going to be where you host your products, and people click on that product to see that item. Now in this case, I don't really use product items on my website. I have quick checkout enabled for my course products, so I'm not going to have a good example for you to see here. However, if you're an e-commerce brand and you start adding your products, when you want to change the style of how those appear, this is where you'll do that, under product items, stored under design. Let's click image blocks, which is certainly something everyone is going to use. So here, image block. There's an image block type called a poster, as well as a card, and an overlap, and a collage. Now, and a stack. There's a few. Now, if you're just getting started and these instances don't appear on your website yet, there's a chance this setting will not show until you have at least one instance of that block on your website. Again, this is a place where you're going to want to experiment. You're going to want to experiment with different image blocks and styles depending on how you want that image to interact with text. When you want to customize how it appears, image width, separation, title separation, a lot of specifics here, this is where you're going to go. Under image blocks, they're all saved in one place under design. Now let's talk quickly about what remains here. Your browser icon, also known as a favicon, is that image that appears in the tab, okay, of your browser. So in this case, I have my logo. You want to just read here. I use a PNG, but they note here that Internet Explorer does not support PNG, but the rest of the browsers do. I find that to be the easiest format to put a browser icon. Lock screen. If you have a password protected page, this is where you would customize the design of the lock screen. I don't use this, so I haven't spent a lot of time customizing it, but this is where you would go. Checkout page. If you have products and you're selling it, you can customize the appearance of that checkout page. Pretty self-explanatory. A 404 page is when someone types a URL on your website that no longer exists, or maybe there's a typo, and rather than just showing them, a blank screen, it will take them to a page that tells them that the page was not found. In this case, I've used the system's default, but you can actually pull, in this instance, you could actually create a page under not linked and then select it here if that's one that you want them to show. Access denied screen is new as of memberships. Now, there are memberships supported on Squarespace directly, and so if someone goes to a page that they don't have permission to see, you would, right here, access denied, you would use that. Social sharing is really important and something people miss a lot of times. You want to set an image here that platforms like Facebook or any social media sites that want to preview your website, they'll pull this image. Make sure you set one here. I have another video all about working with the Facebook debugger tool in case the right image is not showing, and I'll link to that in the description below. Finally, your custom CSS area is the place that you want to do more advanced customizations on your site styles. Now, I don't talk a lot about CSS in this video, but I have other Squarespace videos on my YouTube channel about CSS. I have a lot of CSS on my site to customize certain things. Not something you need to worry about to start, but maybe something you want to explore if you're wanting to further customize your site beyond what Squarespace offers. Now, I have some great news. We've covered the most important parts of the back end of Squarespace in this tutorial on how to use it. Pages, designs, and settings are the most important things for you to know. Thanks for sticking with me. I know this is a long video. Hopefully it's helpful, and I'll continue to go through quickly the remaining parts of the site for you to get familiar with. Let's go ahead and click on Commerce. This is only going to apply to a handful of you that are actually selling products from your website. If you're not selling products, it's still a good idea to know what capabilities exist for your website if you do want to sell products in the future. Again, I'm going to move quickly. So we've got orders here. Anyone who has purchased a product on your website, once they order it, that's where it's going to appear. You're going to have access to all the information on those people there. Inventory, if you have a limited amount of products that you're selling, in my case, since I sell a digital product, the stock is unlimited, but let's say I'm selling necklaces and I only have 10 available, you would list the inventory number there so that you don't oversell. And obviously, you can run sales. Well, not obviously, it's actually a cool feature on Squarespace. Right now, I'm running a sale on my courses for Black Friday, and so you can actually really cool. You can actually set a sale price if I click on a product here. Okay, so $99 instead of $299 on my courses for Black Friday. Very cool. And then if I ever want to change that, I just can unclick that and it will change the price back. So that's how that works. I'm going to go ahead and discard my changes. So we talked about orders. We talked about inventory. This creates a database of your customers. And if you want to create a discount code, this is where you would go. I don't have any active discounts on my courses since they're already discounted universally. But for example, I normally have Tube50 as a promo code for any of my YouTube subscribers. They get 50% off courses. Here's where you would enable any kind of discount code as well as the settings for that. You've also got selling tools, point of sale, product status, wait lists, and related products. Very handy. For example, if you want to set some related products, you can just toggle that on here. Very cool. You can even set the section title you might also like, and then it will actually display what it would define as similar products or related products. I love that new feature. Notifications, so customer notifications, low stock alerts. Those are self-notifications so that if you get low on something, it will tell you. And then just the setup. This takes a little bit of time to set up at the beginning. So taxes and shipping rates, checkout, customer accounts, accounting. You can partner Squarespace with a lot of other third-party tools you might be using for accounting. Payments, so we use Stripe, PayPal, a lot of the common ones. Those are all set up here. Let's move along to marketing, where I'm going to only focus on a few of these. For today's video, I'm not talking about email campaigns. I don't use Squarespace email marketing. I use other tools like ConvertKit, MailChimp. So I'm not going to click on there, but I will click on a few other things. So SEO is hugely important, and there are some links here I won't click on, but if you need them, for example, this SEO checklist I talk a lot about in my other YouTube videos, it walks you through in detail what you need to do to get your website SEO ready. You'll see here I've incorporated some keywords into my home, pages, items, and I can custom define how those appear in search engines. Love this place. Don't overlook this. We tend to focus just on the design and getting all the information on our website, and we don't think enough about making sure that what you create, what you work so hard to create, is actually discovered online. So that is under marketing, under SEO. Let's talk about a few other places. I'm going to skip over location management. This is just related to Google My Business locations. I don't use this because I don't have a physical location. If you want a promotional pop-up, you can do that directly on Squarespace without using a third-party tool. I find these kind of annoying, so I don't actually display these. That's, to me, feels like the right decision for my audience, but certainly if you are selling something or you want people to opt into your website, this is where you can set that directly on Squarespace. The announcement bar is something I use often. This adds a little bar where you can put some text above your website. You can toggle it on and off, and here in this case, as I mentioned, I'm doing a Black Friday sale right now at the time of recording this video, so you can actually see my announcement bar being used to drive traffic through to my courses page, and you can set all of that here. Now, there are some other partnerships that Squarespace has and other tools that they've, businesses that they've acquired that they've incorporated into their platform. Instagram stories, products on Instagram, Facebook pixel and ads, share buttons, Pinterest save buttons. So you see there's some integrations here that might be useful for you. Google Ads credit, URL builder. You can spend some time here for this video. It's already long, so I'm not going to go into detail on these, but I want you to know where they are under marketing. Squarespace also recently acquired Acuity, and so here they're white labeling that as Squarespace scheduling. I'm not going to click this because it will take me to create an account, which I don't want. I use Calendly, but certainly if there's scheduling in your business, this might be useful for you. Let's go ahead and click Analytics. Now note, I just switched my website over from my old Squarespace account on 7.0, so this website is about a week old. And here you're going to be able to see, I won't click on it, but you'll be able to see revenue if you're selling products, as well as site traffic, geography. Again, the downside to switching over to 7.1 from 7.0 is that I've lost all of this useful information that I had on my old site. But again, for this quick example, this is where you keep track of everything. I would point out traffic is useful to keep track of, as well as geography to know where in the world people are finding your website. Down here under popular content is a place I click a lot to see which pages on my website or which projects on my website get the most traffic, as well as site search keywords. What are people typing into Google to find you? This is where you'll find all of that. And I recommend spending time in here each month to understand how your website is performing and how people are finding you and what your most valuable content is. Profiles I'm going to skip over because this is not necessarily useful for me. I'm not using Squarespace email marketing or the membership tool that they offer. So profiles is not useful for me, but if you are keeping track of subscribers, customers, this is where you can go. Squarespace is actually creating profiles for those people, and this is where it houses that information. Finally, since we already talked about settings, I want to talk about help. One of the best things about Squarespace, included in your fee that you pay yearly, that includes access to the entire platform, which on other website tools would be called hosting, they allow you to actually get in touch with them, their customer service. Obviously, like most tools, they want you to use their knowledge base first. But if I go ahead and click knowledge base, it will bring me to their website here in just a second, where I can search a variety of topics that have already been explored on their site. Normally, and I'll show you the quick way to bypass that, I prefer to get in touch with the customer service right away to get my answer faster. So I go ahead and click on this Contact Us in the top right corner. Contact Us will then bring you to this form where you can, define why you want to get in touch with them so that they'll bring you to the right department. Okay, they're going to suggest their knowledge base, obviously, for efficiency, but go ahead here if you want to get in touch with someone and click email or live chat. I normally do email, and here I just type the subject, the description of what I want to know, very important, the website URL that you're asking them about, and then any screenshots. And again, this is all included in your Squarespace subscription. You don't have to pay extra for support. I think when in doubt, if there's something you're not sure about on your site, don't spend a huge amount of time trying to figure it out yourself. Get in touch with the experts at Squarespace. It is their job to help you, and this is inclusive in your annual or monthly fee, so use it. There we go, a very comprehensive guide on how to use Squarespace. Thanks for sticking with me through each section: settings, pages, design, commerce, marketing, analytics, profiles, and help. I hope this tutorial helps you, and if you have any other lingering Squarespace questions, feel free to comment below. I keep an eye on those personally. If you found this video helpful, I would really appreciate a like and consider subscribing for more videos just like this with practical advice to look good online. Squarespace branding, websites, social media, and more. Now, I'm going to link you through next to some videos that I think you're going to find helpful. I'm Pallen. Thanks for watching, and those videos are coming up next.